The 10 creepiest trails hidden in the Appalachian Mountains, starting with number 10. In the 10th place, Shining Rock Wilderness in North Carolina sets the stage with a closure that seems at first glance entirely routine. In 1971, the U.S. Forest Service issued a permanent shutdown of a 0.9-mile segment, citing severe erosion. 0.45 tons of soil lost per square meter, far above the agency's own threshold. The official paperwork points to unstable ground and sediment threatening nearby streams, and the closure order was met with almost no public opposition. Yet beneath the surface, the story grows stranger. The closed corridor overlays what older maps label as the Old Indian Trail, a route that oral histories link to the Cherokees' forced march during the Trail of Tears. What truly fuels the unease is a classified survey, CTCS 71, commissioned the same year. Requests to see the full report have been denied, with the agency citing national security and the protection of sensitive cultural resources. The physical trail has vanished beneath regrown forest, but the secrecy surrounding that internal survey lingers, leaving behind more questions than answers about what the closure was really meant to hide. Number 9. Hazel Creek Trail in the Great Smoky Mountains stands as a haunting reminder of promises broken and families uprooted. When Fontana Dam rose on the Little Tennessee River during World War II, over 1,300 residents of Hazel Creek were forced from their homes. Entire communities disappeared beneath the new lake, and more than 240 graves were left stranded or submerged, their markers battered by rising waters. Federal officials pledged to build a North Shore Road, a lifeline that would let displaced families return to tend the 28 cemeteries scattered along the Old Valley. That road was never finished. For decades, the so-called Road to Nowhere has ended abruptly in the forest, its pavement swallowed by undergrowth and silence. Annual Remembrance Days see descendants hiking rough trails to honor ancestors, but many graves remain out of reach. After years of legal battles, the government paid $52 million in 2010 to settle with those families, but the road itself remains a scar, unfinished, a symbol of loss and unfulfilled obligation. The emotional weight of Hazel Creek lingers, where the forest conceals both the visible ruins and the wounds of a community that was never truly allowed to return. 8th place, Linville Gorge Wilderness in North Carolina stands out for what is missing rather than what is there. On USGS topographic maps from the 1950s and 1960s, a 0.7-mile-long rectangle in the heart of the gorge is simply left blank, outlined, labeled, classified, no public release, and devoid of contour lines or trail markings. Later editions erase even that outline, as if the terrain itself had been scrubbed from the record. The reason, according to a declassified 1978 Forest Service memo, traces back to Cold War experiments with acoustic detection equipment. The government deliberately omitted this patch from public maps to mask its location. But the secrecy did not end when the Cold War faded. In 2014, hikers stumbled on a 12-foot corrugated metal fence running across an abandoned logging road deep within the gorge. No sign, no warning, and no trail database entry, just a physical barrier where the map still shows nothing at all. These deliberate omissions and unexplained structures turn Linville Gorge into a landscape where official silence becomes its own kind of evidence, raising the unsettling question: What else has been erased from view? Number 7. Rowan Mountain straddles the border of Tennessee and North Carolina, but the real boundary here is between what's known and what's off limits. In 2018, the U.S. Forest Service posted abrupt closure signs near the summit, citing unexplained electromagnetic anomalies. The language was clinical, almost evasive. Public bulletins referenced a precautionary shutdown, yet refused to specify what kind of readings had triggered it. By 2020, a Forest Service update invoked the National Security Act, a rare move for a wilderness area, and explicitly declined to release any technical details. Hikers approaching the restricted zone found not just the usual warnings, but new fencing and sensor arrays with signs warning of area under review. What little information has surfaced comes from academic studies. In 2022, a University of Tennessee team measured a persistent low-frequency hum, 30 Hz, just below the threshold of human hearing, emanating from within the closed zone. The acoustic study's findings remain unpublished, and requests for raw data have been met with silence. USFS district files confirm that the closure remains indefinite, with no timeline for reopening or further explanation. Unlike older map erasures or cultural omissions, Rowan Mountain's mystery is a living one. A modern wilderness sealed off not for erosion or heritage, but for a scientific anomaly that officials refuse to explain. The result is an uneasy intersection of technology, secrecy, and Appalachian wildness, where the official story is less about what's being protected than about what's being kept hidden. Number 6. Pond Mountain Wilderness in Tennessee introduces a chilling escalation, a documented death shrouded in secrecy, where the official record remains locked behind classified files. In March 2022, a group of hikers reported witnessing a sudden, blinding flash of light near the upper ridgeline. Within moments, one member of their party vanished. Search teams combed the area for nearly 48 hours, only to find the missing hiker's pack and phone at the edge of a shallow ravine. The disappearance was immediately logged with the U.S. Forest Service as Incident USFS NM 2203. But when journalists and family members filed Freedom of Information Act requests, every response came back the same: access denied. The denial letter cited Department of Energy Directive 7650.01, labeling the report Sensitive Intelligence Methods, National Security. No public details have ever been released. Eyewitness video, captured on a phone moments before the event, shows a brief, intense burst of white light, followed by a metallic ringing that fades into silence. The official record confirms only that an incident occurred, but the full report remains sealed, its contents known only to a handful of federal officials. Pond Mountain stands apart on this list as the first case where a fatal outcome is acknowledged, but the truth is withheld, amplifying the sense of unease that comes when tragedy is hidden behind layers of official secrecy. In the 5th place, Mount Rogers in Virginia delivers a mystery heard but never seen, a persistent, low-frequency hum that has baffled both scientists and hikers since 2018. The sound, clocked at exactly 30 Hz, was first captured by a field team near the 3,500-foot ridge, using equipment from the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation's Acoustic Monitoring Lab. The resulting audio file, cataloged as VDACR-MR 2018-01, shows a clean, unwavering signal on the spectrogram, unlike anything produced by known wildlife, wind, or nearby infrastructure. Local folklore has tried to fill the gap, with stories ranging from secret government transmitters to ancient geological phenomena beneath the summit. Yet the official record is silent. Field notes from the survey describe the hum as audible only with specialized equipment, yet strong enough to register above background noise for hours at a time. No animal, machine, or natural process in the region matches the frequency or persistence. Hikers who linger on the ridge sometimes report a vague sense of pressure or unease, but there is no consensus on the source. The Mount Rogers hum stands apart, not as a fatal threat, but as an eerie reminder that some mysteries in the Appalachians are felt, not seen, and remain stubbornly unexplained. Number 4. Beech Creek Basin in Kentucky stands as a stark example of how an entire community can vanish into bureaucratic limbo, its history erased by paperwork and silence. In 1954, the Army Corps of Engineers launched Project FS 69-23, a dam and reservoir scheme that targeted the Beech Creek Valley, a region home to 12 Appalachian families and a site with deep Cherokee roots. The environmental impact statement filed that year promised fair relocation and compensation. But when the project collapsed due to geological instability, the families had already been uprooted, their homes bulldozed, and the land stripped bare. Compensation checks never arrived. Court dockets from a 1965 lawsuit reveal that some displaced residents were listed as presumed deceased, their whereabouts untraceable in official records. A 2022 University of Georgia thesis on water infrastructure and indigenous dispossession argues that the entire episode amounted to cultural erasure. Not just lost property, but lost graves, lost names, and the quiet disappearance of a lineage. The basin itself became an abandoned reservoir, never filled, ringed by rusted fencing and warning signs, with no clear owner and no path home for those forced out. Unlike settlements in other valleys, Beech Creek's story ends not with restitution, but with a legal void. The unresolved status of the land, the missing compensation, and the absence of any public memorial make Beech Creek Basin a haunting reminder that some injustices are neither acknowledged nor repaired, but simply left to fester beneath the surface. Coming to the top 3, Savage Gulf in Tennessee stands at the center of one of the Appalachian Mountains' most chilling, unsolved disappearances. In September 1969, Thomas Adair, a trail maintenance worker, set out on a routine inspection along the Gulf's narrow switchbacks and never returned. The search that followed was exhaustive, over 72 hours. Teams scoured the ravines and ledges, finding only Adair's torn backpack snagged on a branch and a series of deep groove-like footprints that ended abruptly at a sheer cliff face. No body, no further evidence, just a silence that settled over the canyon. The case was formally logged by the National Park Service as NPS 1908-SV, but when journalists and family members later requested the investigation file, they were met with a denial letter. The agency cited national security exemptions, sealing the records from public release. Even Freedom of Information Act requests were rejected, with the official response referencing ongoing federal investigative interests. The details of the search, maps, radio logs, and evidence inventories remain redacted or entirely withheld. Podcasts and independent researchers have tried to reconstruct the timeline, but the gaps in the official record only deepen the sense of unease. The absence of closure, the physical clues leading nowhere, and the government's refusal to release the file have turned Adair's disappearance into a symbol of the unknown dangers lurking in the Appalachian wilds. Government and unknown forces converge, leaving a case that is as disturbing for what is hidden as for what is known. Number 2. Cohutta Wilderness in Georgia draws its unease from a single scorched inscription, 3 words burned deep into a basalt outcrop near Jack's River Ford: "No and what?" Discovered by rangers in 2015 and documented in field photographs, the phrase was initially dismissed as modern vandalism, but the language matches a warning found in the 1835 minutes of the Cherokee National Council, now preserved in the National Archives. In that historic context, "no and what" was a phrase of protest, meaning "do not proceed," a direct challenge to surveyors and state officials who were mapping routes for forced removal. The 1835 council records describe tribal leaders gathering in Cohutta, voicing resistance to the Georgia State Highway Commission's plan to carve a road through the ridge. That protest was forcibly shut down under military escort, but the phrase survived in oral tradition, resurfacing nearly 2 centuries later in charred stone. Rangers who documented the inscription in 2015 reported evidence of a portable torch, and a 2020 Cultural Resources Survey for the area flagged the site as potentially significant, though the Forest Service's official stance continues to classify the act as vandalism. The burned message sits at the intersection of environmental activism and indigenous memory, a tangible, unsettling reminder that the land's history is layered with resistance. Unlike other entries where mystery comes from vanished records or unexplained closures, Cohutta's warning is both visible and deliberate, echoing a moment when Cherokee protest was literally burned into the landscape. The result is a trail where every visitor passes a message meant to stop them in their tracks, a centuries-old act of defiance that still dares anyone to cross. And finally, in first place, a trail that defies every attempt to pin it down, where the act of erasure itself becomes the evidence. The so-called unmapped Cherokee Trail is not just missing from modern guides. It has been systematically scrubbed from every official map, leaving behind only the faintest archival traces and a string of technical dead ends. The story begins with an 1882 USGS survey, sheet B12, where a slender, hand-drawn line cuts through the Blue Ridge, labeled simply as Indian Path. By 1905, on the same series, the line is gone, replaced by blank topography. No footnote, no erratum, just absence. In recent years, field teams equipped with RTK GPS units have tried to retrace the corridor, guided by oral histories and fragments of surveyors' notes. For a 2-kilometer stretch, every device, regardless of brand or antenna, loses satellite lock. Digital compasses drift, waypoints refuse to save, and even analog compasses spin erratically. The phenomenon is so consistent that the Appalachian Trail Conservancy's 2019 logbook contains a warning: do not attempt to map. Signal loss guaranteed. Attempts to resolve the mystery through official channels have yielded only deeper silence. In 2023, a Freedom of Information Act request asked the U.S. Forest Service for any records, surveys, or correspondence about the vanished route. The agency's reply was terse. No records responsive to your request. No such trail exists or has ever existed in our files. Yet, the 1882 map remains in the Library of Congress archive, its faded ink a silent contradiction. What sets this trail apart is not a story of closure or abandonment, but an active campaign to erase its presence. The GPS dead zone, the missing documentation, and the official denials converge into a final riddle, one where the only proof left is the persistent gap, the refusal to acknowledge, and the technology that fails exactly where the old path once ran. The unmapped Cherokee Trail stands as the Appalachian Mountains' ultimate mystery, a place where history, memory, and modern surveillance all fail to illuminate what lies hidden in the trees. Across all 10 hidden trails, one pattern stands out. The deepest Appalachian mysteries thrive, where history, secrecy, and silence overlap. These aren't just places of folklore, they're zones where official records end and questions multiply. In the Appalachians, the real chill isn't what's told, but what's left unsaid. Which trail story unsettled you the most? Drop your thoughts below.